What's up, Metal Summoners? It is so great to see you guys. It is so awesome that you guys support the show, come and rock out with us, and hang out with us at the middle of the week, starting your weekends in the middle of the week, just the way we like it. Thank you so much for supporting the band, supporting live music, and supporting everything that not only the guests of this show have going on, but also what the hosts of the show have going on as well. We're going to jump right into the good times. We got a lot of fun things to talk about, and we're going to, it is October. It is Halloween. So I guess it makes sense that we're going to slaughter some people tonight. So we're going to rock out a little bit for the time being. We've got Jordan Cannata joining us. Jordan, first and foremost, man, thank you so much, my friend. Thank you for spending some time with us and giving us a little bit of your evening. And welcome to the Metal Summit, my friend.
Oh, hell yeah, man. It's good to be here. Thank you for having me, man. Of course. I'm happy to hang.
Of course, man. Absolutely. And thank you again. And first and foremost, man, it actually wasn't that long ago that I got to see you recently. We didn't really get to hang. We weren't really able to cross paths backstage at it, but you were at M3 with Slaughter doing your thing, playing with the guys. And I mean, big stage, open air venue, always a great crowd for M3. You're familiar with it already, but how was that experience, man? Because it always comes off like a blast.
M3 is always really cool, man. I love playing there every chance I can get. It's always fun. And yeah, that one was a bit of a whirlwind for us because we come in right from another show. We flew in and went right to the venue that day. So it was kind of a crazy like whirlwind of get there, get everything going really quickly. We didn't have a lot of time to spare. But for me it was actually that M3 was kind of even a little more special actually because I met Slaughter at M3 2 years prior to that. So it was like the 2 years to the date from when I met the guys. So it's kind of like a cool little anniversary thing for me because I had met them there at the last M3 I had played and then got to actually go play it with them 2 years later, almost to the day. So that was a cool little kind of little anniversary thing.
Oh, I already knew this was absolutely for sure, man. When it comes to like playing with a band like Slaughter, that's got such a history, a guy like Mark who's so committed to everything, and really keeping the band, in tune with that. Somebody like, Dana, who's very like, on the clock, like watch, make sure that everything's good because he's also got so much of that like tour managing, stage managing experience.
Yeah.
How is it touring with like those kind of personalities with guys that are so on the ball?
It's awesome, man. It makes life so easy. Oh God, I don't have to worry about a thing. I mean, yeah, listen, for real. I mean, they really do have the whole Slaughter is just a well-oiled machine, man. I mean, they've been doing it a long time, and like you said, Dana is so experienced, and not just on the musician side, but the business side, and so is Mark. I mean, they've been working together obviously for forever. Before Slaughter, they did the Vinnie Vincent stuff together. So
Yep.
the two of them have just been doing this together for so long, and they just have the whole thing just down, and there's literally nothing that they don't have in just total control. And so honestly, it makes life really easy. I mean, and listen, they both know how to have a good time. They all both know how to handle business as well. So it's like the coolest kind of split, where it's like when it's time to get down to business, they're right there, and when it's time to let loose and have some fun, you can have a great time with the two of them too. So it's honestly it makes life just really easy, and from the day I've met them, it's been a blast from day one.
Hell
day
yeah,
one.
for sure, brother. Before I kick it over to Psycho Steve and let him take it away for a little bit, how did you get involved with the band? How did your paths cross professionally with Slaughter?
Well, like I said, it was at M3. It was at the M3 festival in 2021. I had gotten a call from Steve Brown from Trickster. He was playing in another band called Tokyo Motor Fist, and he needed a fill-in drummer on about a week's notice to go do the M3 festival because they got it added on pretty late. So he called me and asked me if I would fill in. I agreed. I went down to the festival to play the show with them, and we just happened to be playing right before Slaughter and had the dressing room across the hall from them. So just happened to meet the guys there, and I got to meet them all, and I spoke a lot with the previous drummer Will, and he and I stayed in touch, and he plays drums for Evanescence. So when Evanescence started getting busier again, they knew they needed to fill in, and he asked me if I'd be willing to do it. So I started out just kind of filling in when he needed to go out with Evanescence. But after a little while, it just kind of got busier and busier. He was getting busier with them. I was playing with Slaughter more and more often, and everybody, we kind of had a conversation. We all talked it out, and it just kind of made sense for now that Evanescence was kind of becoming a full-time thing again.
Yeah.
It just made sense for him to continue on with Evanescence and for me to take over the Slaughter gig, and it just kind of was this natural progression where we all just kind of had this conversation and said, you know what, this is what's working, so let's just do it. And so Will and I had a talk because I never came into this intending to like steal a gig or anything like that. But
Sure.
he understood, and he was like, "Hey, listen," he goes, I'm out doing this with Evanescence, and he has other side projects, and so he and I are still really really good friends. I love him forever. He's one of my drumming heroes, and once I started playing with the rest of the guys, I mean, now the rest of them, they're family. I mean, I spend as much or more time with them as I do my actual family. So we've just become, really have become a family, the whole Slaughter camp. And just kind of, it was just this natural thing that after, a little bit of time, it just progressed. And then here I am full time. And
That's
I never would have dreamed it in a million years, just happened to, cross paths at M3.
Oh, that's awesome, man, for sure. Psycho Steve, my good friend, welcome back. As always, you've been working behind the scenes with us for a little while now, where you've been holding down the great familyness. But it's great to have you back on the show for an episode, my good friend. So please take it away.
Well, glad to be back. So my first question is, one, were you a Slaughter fan before you became the drummer of the band?
Easy answer. Yes. Yes, absolutely. I've known about Slaughter since I was a little kid. I mean, I've been listening to them forever. So once I got the original fill-in gig and I knew I was playing before them, I was excited because I knew I'd get a chance to watch them because I actually hadn't seen them play. Even though I was a fan, I hadn't actually gotten to see them play live.
Oh,
And so I was excited just to watch the show, let alone even think I was going to meet them or end up working with them. So yes, I've been a Slaughter fan since I was a little kid. I had Stick It To You in my CD collection when I was really little. So it was just one of these things where as soon as I found out it was even possible, I lost my mind.
nice. Now that Slaughter's been out for quite some time, since like we could say like late 80s, like 89, 90 on the cusp,
Yep.
everything. We've had several transitions of the band. Of course, Mark and Dana being the primary original members, Tim, let him rest in peace, having Jeff
Mhm.
play guitar for X amount of years, having you and Cheney, Blas Elias, Will Hunt, as you said. Um, I don't know if you're allowed to share this, but do you ever see them ever you guys recording an actual another album together?
We have talked about it. It's we're kind of discussing the plan right now. Right now, the main thing that we're in the kind of process of getting going is more of like a biopic.
Okay.
So that's the thing that's kind of being discussed and worked on at the moment, and we're still working out all the details and stuff like that. But we've been discussing the idea of releasing some new music to go along with that. So
Wow.
all early discussions and everything, but we are in the process of working out some stuff that we can put out into the world because yeah, it has been a long time. I mean, and I mean, I would love to do it. Obviously, I mean, just being involved with it is amazing. But yeah, we have been discussing the possibility of putting out some new stuff to go along with a biopic that's being worked on. Yeah,
Pretty
so
awesome.
that will be exciting. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's gonna be cool.
And now, you being the drummer that you are, you come from a very musical family. Your brother's a musician,
Mhm.
and Anybody else in your immediate family?
No, actually, my brother and I are the only ones. We are the first. That was I get that a lot. People always assume that because my brother and I both do it, that everyone else in my family did. Because my brother's a phenomenal guitar player. He's unbelievable. He blows my mind every time I listen to him play. But yeah, we both got started early on because my dad's always been a music fanatic. He never played, but he's always been an audiophile guy. He's always been into high-end stereo equipment, and he's always been building new, playback systems and all that kind of stuff. And he's always had a massive collection of music. So even though he didn't play, he was a super fan. And when I was probably, I don't know, I was like 4 or 5 years old, he basically just gave my brother and I like a giant tub of all of his cassette tapes and CDs and was like, here, kids, have fun, start listening to stuff. And he bought us this little Iowa stereo,
Awesome.
CD player type thing, and it had like the CD and cassette tape combo kind of thing. So we put that little stereo in our room, and we had this big just collection of CDs and tapes in our bedroom, like in our closet or something. And we would just sit there for hours just checking out new music. Well, I mean, it was old music, but for us, it was new, and we just became obsessed with it. So it was definitely my dad's influence that got us into it, but we were the first ones to actually want to pick up instruments in the family. And
Very cool.
ironically, my grandmother was a member of the Gene Krupa fan club.
Ah, that's
So she was also a music lover and a drum lover.
right on.
Yeah, that was cool. I didn't know that until many, many years later.
Nice. Cool. Angel.
I want to say thank you for your time, man. Really appreciate you having me on the
Oh,
show.
yeah, man. Of course.
As a drummer, in your early days, and I and I'm always thinking about the Rolling Stones drummer Charlie Watts because even when I was a kid playing drums, I always try to copy his style.
Mhm.
So just wondering, did you ever try to copy like Charlie Watts and just the way that he plays? Because he's unique compared to like other
Oh,
drummers.
yeah. Charlie's way unique. His whole like the hi hat thing he would do, like he was always like kind of skipping the hi hat when he would hit the snare, that kind of thing. I honestly am gonna say I don't think I ever really tried to copy Charlie. But I mean I've been listening to him since I was a kid. I When I was really young and I was first getting started, I really gravitated toward Ringo.
Oh wow.
So Ringo was my hero when I was a kid. I was obsessed with the Beatles. I mean, I had the Help and the Hard Day's Night movies on VHS tape, and I would literally just like play one, take it out, play the other, play it, and I would just put them on loop like that. I was obsessed with the Beatles. So if there was anybody when I was little that I tried to emulate, it definitely was Ringo, for sure. And then, over time, I discovered obviously a ton of other people that became much bigger influences on the way I play. But at the beginning, I was a Ringo fanatic.
Did you ever get to see him live yet?
I did, yeah. I always tell people that whenever the time comes that I will die happy because Ringo Starr spoke to me. So for my 10th birthday, because I was obsessed, my parents took me to see Ringo and his all star band when he played on Long Island. And I made like a little, handwritten sign that said, Ringo, it's my birthday. Can I have a stick or whatever? And I walked up as close to the front of the stage as I could get. And I'm just holding the sign like for I don't know how long. I'm just sitting there holding it up and holding it up. And he finally just walks up to the edge of the stage as close as he can get to me. He looks me dead in the face and he says, Son, the lights are on me. I can't read your sign. So, so I never got the drumstick, but Ringo Starr spoke directly to me, so I'm satisfied.
Awesome. So, what drumsticks? What's your gear with? What drumsticks you use, and what cymbals, and what drums you use to play?
I'm a Vader drumstick guy all the way. I use Vader 1A. I've been using that model stick for, oh God, I don't even know, 15, 20 years. I have never changed stick that just it feels like an extension of my arm. You know, I when I grab another drumstick, I feel weird. Just doesn't feel right to me. So yeah, I've been using Vader 1As forever. It's my all-time favorite stick. As far as the rest of the gear, I'm an Evans drumhead guy. I love Evans. I mean, I have a couple different kits that I might use different heads on them, but in the studio, I like to use the UV2s, and live, I typically use EC2s. And on the snare, I'll use a reverse dot, an EC reverse dot. Um, Drums, I'm a DW guy, and cymbals, I'm Zildjian, mostly A customs, a little bit of a mixture, but mostly A custom Zildjians. Yeah, and I've been using this kind of the same stuff for a really, really long time. I've kind of found what I liked, and every now and then something new comes out, and I'll give it a shot. But I don't know, those things just seem to really work for me, and I've just stuck with them forever. You know, symbol wise, I mean, yeah, pretty much all that kind of A custom stuff. Except my favorite symbol of all time is the old Z custom Mega Bell Zildjian ride. I love that thing, and they're really hard to find. So, and that was actually how Will and I kind of connected. I brought mine to M3, and he loves that symbol, and he was like, "Dude, I can't believe you have one of those. Backline never gives it to me." But I had my own, so I was like, "Well, hey, here, use it after I'm done." I was like, "Will Hunt's gonna use my symbol. This is awesome." So we actually kind of connected because we both love that symbol. Um, but yeah, so I mean, pretty simple. DW, Zildjian, Vader, and Evans. That's my whole world. And I mean, I use a bunch of electronics. Also, you know, I use a bunch of Roland electronics, and use like X Vive wireless packs and stuff like that. So I mean, there's all sorts of craziness going on, but those are the main pieces of the puzzle.
As a drummer, have you ever experimented with doing double bass drums?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. When I was with Adrenaline Mob, I had 4 bass drums.
Damn.
Yeah, that kit was gigantic. That thing was unbelievable. But yeah, yeah. So I mean, Slaughter. I always play a double bass kit with Slaughter. So I do that pretty regularly. That's kind of my norm with Slaughter. But yeah, I've gone as many as 4 kicks when I was doing the Adrenaline Mob thing. That was a crazy drum set. That was fun.
Were you able to walk afterwards? I mean, I just can't imagine.
I mean, you know, sacrifice the body, man. It doesn't matter. It's about the music. The rest of it means nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, that's all it is. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much the kind of the gist of everything that I use. And I was using the same kind of stuff with Adrenaline Mob. It was just a bigger kit.
Cool.
So we get to a question from Brian. You're
Okay.
at a Paul McCartney concert. They need an emergency drummer. How many songs can you play from memory?
Oof, honestly, not that many. Yeah, I mean, definitely not any of Paul's solo stuff. I mean, if we're talking Beatles collection, I could definitely get through some. You know, I could probably pull 7 or 8 songs out of, my head and get going with it. But honestly, not that many. I mean, I think part of it too is I've done a lot of last minute gigs, so I'm very comfortable with trying to learn things quick. And but I mean, literally, like, at the concert, no notice at all, like, get up and play. There's probably 7 or 8 songs that I could pull out that I'd be able to fudge my way through, but beyond that, it would be pretty rough. I definitely don't have that large of a collection in the memory bank. There's only so much room on the hard drive, man. This is the way
Yeah,
it goes. Yeah, at some point when one song needs to come in, an old one needs to come out. That's just the way it works with me. Luckily, it's large. I have a large collection in there, but at some point, something's got to go.
I can imagine as a drummer, you definitely do.
I mean, because it's you definitely need to have a large collection of stuff because it's surprising how often last minute things like that do come up. I mean, that's how I met Slaughter. I mean, I got a last minute call to play with Tokyo Motor Fist, And I mean, that was not, day before. I had a week to prepare, but even still, a week is not a lot of time when you're trying to really isolate and lock down a whole thing. I mean, bands rehearse for tons of time before they get started. So, I mean, I think the least amount of, I mean, I've done gigs on one day's notice, but at that point I still at least had like the day and the night to sit there and write up some charts and cheat sheets and listen to the songs over and over again and at least try to practice a little something the day before I did it. And those are really stressful. I definitely don't enjoy doing that. I mean, it's not an easy ask. But I have been in that situation before, so it's doable. But I mean, yeah, like just being pulled out of the audience with literally no notice. Um, Paul McCartney will probably never call me again after that gig.
Before I before I get to another question from Brian, how do you do any warm ups before a show?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I always travel with these like heavier kind of practice sticks. They're kind of like marching sticks and little mini drum pads. So I do a lot of just drills on the pad for a while before we play in the dressing room. Just a lot of different like rudiments and just little like speed and drills that I've been doing over the years. So I'll sit there and I'll do that kind of thing for like 20 minutes or so before we play, and then I stretch a little bit, but I kind of just for me for the most part, I just kind of like to really get the blood flowing. So I kind of just start like stretching, and I kind of just jump up and down, get my heart racing, get the blood pumping because it's a very physical gig. We're definitely a very physical band. We try to be as high energy as we can all the time. So and I like it that way. For me that's a large part of the fun. So I try to just really, do the little pad drills and then just like I said, I literally like if you see me backstage, I'm literally jumping up and down like as if I was on a pogo stick for a couple of minutes just literally just to get the blood flowing. I'm not kidding. I literally just sit there and jump.
Brian wants to know your favorite Beatles song and favorite Beatles album.
Brian with the hard questions, man. Um Song that's impossible to answer, but I'll give you this. I'll give you favorite early album and favorite later album because it's like Beatles at the beginning and Beatles at the end sound totally different, at least in my opinion. Like they're just two totally different animals. So early stuff, the Help album is my favorite. Later stuff, the Abbey Road album. Pick any song off those two albums, and I'm a happy man. Those are definitely, I mean, I love you'd be really hard pressed to find something from the Beatles that I don't like, but those two albums probably made the biggest impression on me growing up. Especially with Help, like I said, I was addicted to that movie too, and it kind of completely centered around Ringo. The whole story was them trying to get that ring off of his finger. So because I was a Ringo fanatic and the whole movie was about him, I just became obsessed with it. But I love all the songs off that album too. Like if 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 Paul McCartney was doing a whole night of songs off those two albums, I might be able to pull off the gig on No Notice. That's where I do well.
Huh.
I'm gonna kick it right back up to you, Jay.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Yeah, Jordan, I'm a Sergeant Pepper guy myself.
All
That's
right, hey,
that's
yep,
my be all end all album for the Beatles. I really love that album top to bottom. If I'm definitely with you when it came to like like being a Beatles guy and like picking a song is incredibly difficult. All of my
right.
favorite songs though really do center around that album. And if you're forcing me to pick one, the first one I'm going to think of because I remember listening to it the most as a kid and just really loving it was Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
Yeah, I mean, it's any answer that's given for a favorite Beatles song is a good answer. You really can't go wrong with it. I mean, yeah, that album is incredible.
Mhm.
It's That's why I say it's like Brian came up with such a hard question. When you have a band that just every album they put out can be considered a masterpiece.
Yeah.
I mean, you really can't go wrong with any of them. And you could say that about, I mean, there's not that many bands, I think, guess you could say that they had a large collection of music where every one of them was that way. But, the Beatles are that way. And then, I mean, I'd feel the same way. Like if someone, we were talking about the Stones before, like asking a Stones fan to pick one song from them. You know, it's like the collection is too big. You can't do that.
Yeah. Have you heard the Cheap Trick, like top to bottom Beatles cover album of Sergeant Pepper?
No, I have not. I didn't even
Dude.
know that existed.
Oh man, it's dynamite. Yeah.
Wow, I'll
Like
definitely check that out. That's
it's
cool.
it's super duper good. Yeah, it's they just did the entire album of Sergeant Pepper, and it's super duper awesome. I gotta
Oh
ask though,
wow.
being that I'm a huge Lost Boys nerd, when you got to see Ringo Starr's All Star Band, was Tim Capello on sax when you saw them?
Ooh, I don't know. I was little,
Oh, okay,
and so I was 10 years old. I was so focused on Ringo. I
sure.
don't know who it was. I know Todd Rundgren was there.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure Greg Bissonette was already playing drums for him at that point. I honestly couldn't tell you who else was there though. I was just so focused on him. Like if I went now, I would be much more aware of everything that's going on. But at the time, I was just too obsessed with him. I didn't think of anything else.
No, I got you, man. No, for sure, because
Yeah.
I've seen Tim perform solo live and stuff like that. And like I said,
Right.
I love the Lost Boys movie to death. It's one of my top 5 movies of all time, and
Yeah.
it's the sax man from the beach, bro. You know, so
Oh yeah, dude. Of course. Of course.
it's like so when you mentioned that you saw the band live, I was like, I don't know if he's gonna remember, but I gotta ask him in case he does. So
Yeah, no, I get it. But yeah, I was too young, and probably at that point in time, I honestly, like, because I was still kind of early in my discovering everybody, I might not even really known who he was at that point in time. I was still, I mean, I had been listening to this stuff for a long time, but it's when you're a kid, right? Like, the bands, the songs, but you don't necessarily know every single musician that's in there. And as you get more into it, you start to discover everybody and you start putting all the pieces together. So I was still kind of learning it all at that point.
I get you, man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
ask you about your stage play specifically, like your showmanship, man. Like you are very easy to remember after you watch a Slaughter show or after you're watched live. And what's your what can you tell us about that? So as a drummer, you're behind a kit, like it's easy, and I truly mean this with like a lot of respect, where it's like as far as the vision, as far as being able to see the drummer play, it so much gets bogged down, and it's easy to forget certain things and not be able to see the performance of a musician when you've got all this equipment in front of them. But
Right.
you make it your point, your business, your style to be very seen, whether it's from drum solos, standing on the kit, saluting and playing to the crowd. What was it about wanting to give the crowd that kind of showmanship that you felt was so important, or how did it make its way into your style?
I mean, honestly, I think it really just came from I'm just having fun. Like honestly, like all the little, like the tricks and all that kind of stuff, like standing on the kit, or like certain kinds of throws, or like ripping cymbals off and hitting things with them. Right, those things just kind of happened in the moment one day. It was just total random happening, and then after you do it once, people are like, dude, you got to do that again.
Yeah.
So and then so it's certain things like that just become part of the repertoire. But honestly, it never was like a planned thing where it's like I'm gonna have this kind of uh vibe, or I'm gonna have this sort of reputation. I honestly just have fun playing energetic like that. It's
Mhm.
just the way that I am. I've always been drawn to the people who were crazier on stage and super energetic. So I just love I love the showmanship aspect of any show, whether we're talking about a drummer or a singer, or I mean, we could be talking about, a violinist, right? I like watching people who just really, really get into it. Like you can see the passion and the love for it just seeping out of them.
Mhm.
So for me, it's really just that. that energy, I'm just kind of feeding off the fact that I'm really loving what I'm doing. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. And so it really kind of all just started with that. I've always been that way. I always have had this just kind of like, I want to hit as hard as I can, and I want to just be nuts the whole time. And I've been that I'm that way when I'm not even behind the drum set, to be honest. That's just who I am. Like, you'll it wouldn't be surprising for you to see me hanging upside down from something in the dressing room. It's just, I don't know, it's how I am. But uh the ability to be visual, though, I did actually get some advice when I was probably, I want to say 13 or 14, that really stuck with me. um I was definitely in my early teens, and my old band at the time was opening for Mountain on Long Island, and it was I think it was they were getting inducted into like the Long Island Hall of Fame or something like that. And so I've always been a huge
Leslie, like
Leslie, yeah.
Leslie
Le-
West's Mountain.
yes, Leslie West, Corky
That's
Lang,
cool.
yeah. Yeah. So, and I've always loved that band. So it was a really cool thing just to, for, being like a teenager, to be opening for them. And so after I played, I was already, I mean, I was a teenager, so definitely not to the extent of what it is now, but I already was kind of doing all that stuff, just swinging and flailing like crazy, because it's just who I am. It's just how I play. And after the show, I had no idea that Corky Lang was watching.
Oh wow.
And he pulled me aside to talk to me after we were playing, and he said to me, he's like, listen, he goes, I have no advice for you on the drumming or any of that. He said, I have one piece of advice for you. He said, you're putting on this show back there that needs to be seen. He's like, but all of your cymbals are right in front of your face and the crowd can't see it. So he suggested to me, change your kit setup, stay comfortable, but change your kit setup so that, with the exception of your toms, there's nothing in front of you, so that the crowd can see what you're doing. And a bunch of like my family and friends heard him say that, and they all walked over to me and said, dude, he's right. Bring your kit home and tweak it. And so I literally just, like, if you look at my kit setup, whether it's the Slaughter kit or the Adrenaline Mob kit that I played or whatever, the one thing that I do is I don't ever have cymbals directly in front of me. They are all at least sort of, maybe here and here. So yeah, I mean, if you're on the side of the crowd, it's impossible not to have some blockage, but
Sure.
I did try to open it up so that the majority of my cymbal work is kind of to my sides, so that people can see it. And I typically like to play my drums sort of low anyway, so that also helps.
Yeah.
But that honestly, it has nothing to do with showmanship. That's just how I'm comfortable.
Right.
But yeah, so it was ironic that I already had that kind of thing going on, because again, it was never a planned thing. Like, I want to be seen. I'm just having fun.
Right.
But Corky Lang was actually the person who kind of told me, like, hey, you have something going on here. You kind of have this little, reputation you could build from it, but people need to see it. So move your cymbals away from your face, so that the crowd can tell what's going on. So it was actually a pretty cool thing that I actually took that advice from Corky Lang.
That's so cool, man, for sure. When it comes,
Yeah.
being a Slaughter guy before being in Slaughter, do you have certain songs that you are really excited and love to play in each set, or do you have favorite Slaughter songs in general that maybe you don't play? Wish you could play them more, because especially with a band like Slaughter that does so many fly out gigs and stuff like that, and plays a lot of those festivals that are kind of what they refer to as like hits shows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite Slaughter songs to play? Your favorites just in general, and are there any cuts that you just really would love to get in the set?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, so yeah, like you said, we definitely do focus on the hits. There's certain songs that, we're never going to take Up All Night out of the set. We're never going to take Fly to the Angels out of the set. There's certain things that are always going to be there. And I love playing those songs. I mean, there's a reason why they were the biggest hits, right? They're incredible songs. Other ones that we play pretty regularly that I love playing, Wildlife. That song is super fun. I love doing that one. I love playing Eye to Eye. Eye to Eye is really, really a fun one. We've been typically, for a little while now, we've been focusing mostly on songs from the first two records from Stick It To You and Wildlife. So there's definitely a few tunes from the Fear No Evil album that I would love to get back into the set at some point. Unknown Destination, that's a fun drumming song, man. I mean, that song is just full on insanity the whole time. So I would definitely love to do that at some point. Live Like There's No Tomorrow. I love that tune also. So, and and there's others like you know, um even like they had a song in the Bill and Ted soundtrack that
Yeah.
was not on any of the records. I'd love
Yep.
to do something like that, so there's so many songs that I'd love to do. But I do love everything that we play in the set. I mean, Mad About You is really fun. Burning Bridges is really fun. So we definitely have a big list of tunes that I love to play, and that's actually part of what I love about Slaughter 2 is it's it's very open music, right? So like, I mean, there's definitely some songs that have some busy parts. And from the day that I joined up, these guys, I mean, they've been super cool from day one. Like the moment I came on board, even for that first fill-in gig, they said to me, they're like, listen, you don't come in and just like copy the album track note for note. They were like, obviously learn the songs, but they encouraged me to be myself and infuse myself into the songs from day one. So I've always had the freedom with them to kind of tweak how things are played and kind of add my own little nuances in. So that also is really cool because it gives me a little sense of freedom to, if I want to experiment and try something, tweak some fills, add a little nuances to some beats or whatever, I have the total freedom to do that. Those guys, they trust me to kind of play around with the songs and add some cool little live elements that you wouldn't hear on the record, which is amazing that they trusted me with that from day one. So I have a lot of fun even with the songs that we play all the time, because if I just at random have an idea, they trust me to just go with it, you know? So I get to kind of experiment. And then if it works great, then I'll start doing it a little more regularly. And it's a cool, fun little moment that I get to have where it's like, oh, this is cool, something new, even though it's the same song I've done 2,000 times now.
Nice.
But yeah, I definitely at some point I would like to delve a little bit into the Fear No Evil album, because we've been focusing heavily on the other two lately. And so I'd like to throw some of that stuff in. Probably Live Like No Tomorrow and Unknown Destination. Those would be probably my top two that I'd like to throw in for sure. That's
awesome, man. I'm a huge Bill and Ted fan, and I'm not even alive. You guys started putting Shout It Out into the set. A part of me would die in the most amazingly happy way.
I would love to do that. That would be really cool. I'd love to throw that in the set. And whenever we have a venue that's got like LED walls or whatever, some video production, man, I will make sure that we put Bill and Ted up on that screen. I would do it in a heartbeat.
Oh, absolutely.
I won't even tell anybody. I'm just gonna do it.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, it's funny too, because also like, I've been fortunate, I've seen Winger a few times, and I'm a huge fan of Battle Stations, and I'm always crying like a spoiled little entitled bitch about how much I want that song to just go back into their set and just get performed, because I think it's such an awesome, awesome song. And I'm always this like whiny little prima donna, because I know I'm not going to see it regularly, because I don't get to see a lot of Winger like headlining shows. It's just like we were just talking, 5 minutes ago about, festivals are very hits driven and stuff like that. So it's like, I get it, but there's this part of me that's like, oh man, I would want that so bad. And Shout It Out is the exact same way. I'm like, I remember like the first time I actually got to see Steelheart live, because I've been familiar with them forever, and I'm just chilling up on the lawn, hanging out, and then they started going into Blood Pollution from like Rockstar.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is all I need in life right now, is because I knew the songs, I knew who sang the songs, but I never really associated those Rockstar songs, despite the fact that I knew that like Millie was singing those songs, and I knew that he wrote most of those songs. I never really associated them as something that would get played in a live setting with all of their original music. So I remember just, having a joygasm watching Blood Pollution being, performed live by Steelheart when I didn't know it was coming. So I just
Oh
thought
yeah.
it was like
The
super.
first time that I got to watch Steelheart, I had the same thing. Because I'm a big fan of both, Mealy and the movie and everything. So when
Mhm.
I got to see him do all that, it blew me away too, and didn't expect it. And I actually, again, when I was a teenager, I actually got to play stand up and shout with Mealy,
Oh wow.
and that was like a crazy thing for me because I didn't actually know Mealy when I saw that movie. I discovered Steelheart because of that movie.
Oh, right on.
So when I watched, I loved the movie, and then I don't remember what the specifics were, but my band was doing something, and they said like, "Hey, we got this opportunity. If you want, you can play stand up and shout with the guy who really sang it." And I was like, "Really? Hell yeah, let's do it!" And I didn't even know who he was at the time. I was too young, too dumb, and after I found out that that was happening, because I found out like, "Oh my god, I'm about to play with this guy," that's when I started looking up Steelheart
Mhm.
and just lost my mind. I mean, that guy is. I mean, what can you say about his voice? It's
Oh yeah.
insane. It's incredible.
It
So
really.
I don't even think that he would remember. This was years and years and years ago, and it was the only time I literally met him like 2 minutes before we all went on stage. It was one of those deals where it's like we played together but barely even talked to each other.
Mhm.
But yeah, I actually got to do stand up and shout with him. That was a really cool moment for me when I was in my I was probably like 17, 18.
Nice, Jordan. That's
Yeah,
totally sick, man. That is
that was
awesome.
a yeah, that was a cool moment.
Hell yeah. Psycho Steve, my guy. We're gonna kick it right back over to you.
Yeah. So, two questions. First question is, have you ever thought of doing a band with your brother?
I have been in many bands with my brother. Absolutely.
That we can actually see play out an album, everything.
Ironically, my brother and I have very recently finished recording a full album's worth of music together.
Cool.
Just the two of us. And we've been finished. We're putting the finishing touches on the first music video, and we're planning on getting the first single released um, sometime within the next few months. We're still planning the release and everything like that. But yeah, I actually do have a whole album's worth of music with my brother recorded and ready to go. We're just working out the details and everything, and we are absolutely going to be releasing some new stuff. So yes, there is music with my brother on the way.
Awesome. Now,
Yep.
this is a sensitive subject. You did talk about Adrenaline Mob, and we all just yesterday I think it was AJ Paro's birthday. Let him rest in peace.
Yes.
Of course, we lost Dave Z several years ago as well.
Mhm.
The question is, do you ever see that band ever forming again and you doing it? Or do you think Portnoy would do it again?
Oof, I don't know. All I could say about that is that I haven't heard anything. Um, that would definitely be, as far as that band doing something, that would definitely be a decision that would be made between Mike and Russ.
Right.
That would definitely be something that they would decide, and whether or not they would bring me on board. I mean, that would be something that they would have to, if they reached out and asked me. But uh, I I don't know that that band will ever do anything again. I have not heard word of anything. Um, my whole thing is at this point, I'm very, very happy where I am. I love playing with Slaughter. I'm hoping to stay with Slaughter for as long as possible. And so I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Adrenaline Mob is currently on my radar. I love the band. I love the music we created. I love the guys. They're all still, I love every one of them. But there's been no talks, at least not with me, about that band coming back. And everybody in that band does have a ton of things going on. Yeah, I'm out with Slaughter and doing a bunch of session work on the side when I'm not with Slaughter. And I know Mike just formed a new band with a whole super group with a whole bunch of guys. I think him and Phil Demel and I think Jason Bittner's playing drums. He's got a massive like super group he just formed, and Russell's still doing Symphony X and still doing Trans-Siberian Orchestra. So everybody involved is definitely busy with a lot of other things. But yeah, I mean, I'll never say never, but I have not heard word of any possibility of that band doing anything.
Okay. And what was your first concert that made you say, I want to be a drummer when you saw your first concert live?
Ooh, ooh. Well, my first concert, I don't know if it's the one that made me say I want to be a drummer. My first concert ever was the Allman Brothers.
Okay.
My dad took me to see the Allman Brothers at the Beacon Theater in New York City when I was like 5 or 6 years old.
Cool.
So that was, yeah, that was my first show, and I loved it. That was definitely, I definitely, my love of music in general grew from that for sure. Um, I don't know if there was a particular concert that drew me, that made me want to play drums though. I think I think that, I mean, like I said, kind of became obsessed with Ringo. Just, I don't know, I was drawn to him and I was drawn to the rhythmic side of music. So that definitely made me want to play drums. But I think there's also, I don't know. I guess I was always like a destructive kind of kid. You know, I was the one who wanted to break things and step on things and hit things. So I was just drawn to the destructive caveman nature of playing drums. I don't know. I think that was a big part of it. Like my dad always used to say when I was a kid, like if there was an empty VHS box on the floor, I wasn't going to step around it. I was going to deliberately step on it. That was just how I was. So I think that there was just the appeal of like, it was the one instrument that you're just beating the hell out of things that just, I don't know, I was just drawn into that. I just was into that whole energy, and there's always been something about the rhythm. I was always drawn to the rhythmic side of music. It was always the thing that I kind of noticed first. You know, like when, I guess I don't know how everybody else feels, but like when you listen to a song, right? It's like some people are drawn more to the riffs or the melodies. Some people are drawn more to the lyrics. Some people are drawn more to the rhythm side. Other people, maybe it's totally even. I don't know, but I guess I've always just been drawn to the rhythmic aspect of music from an early age, I guess. And then yeah, I just like the idea of being able to hit something and not get in trouble for it.
Hey, very cool. Then, as far as in, you mentioned several people besides them, Slaughter, and of course, you mentioned members of Adrenaline Mob, and of course, your brother. But like, do you have any like rock star friends that you like hang out with on a day, like not on a daily basis because everybody's schedule's so crazy, but like if you're in their town, for like if you're in like Wichita, Kansas, you're like, hey, guess what? I'm playing the state fair. Why don't you come out and let's go have a beer before the show or whatever?
Oh yeah, I mean, you know what's interesting about the whole touring musician life, right? Is like the more you do it, right, you travel further throughout the world, the more you realize your world actually gets smaller because you keep finding out that like everybody knows the same people, right? Like even the four of us, right? I guarantee you that every single one of us has a million mutual friends. Like there's just no way around it. We definitely do. And so it's just one of these things where you definitely start to discover that the world is super small, even though it's getting bigger because you're traveling further. But yeah, I mean, I think a big part of it is that we tend to play with a lot of the same groups of bands often. So I get to hang out with a lot of these people and become close with them because we play with them a lot. You know, I mean, it's like in particular, like Slaughter plays with Great White and Quiet Riot and Queensryche and Vixen and Stephen Pearcy and Steven Adler. We play with all those bands very, very often. We're constantly around each other. So we'll all get together and hang out all the time. I mean, you know, anytime that Queensryche is in town, I'm going to hang out with those guys. I've been friendly with them for a really long time. You know, Todd, Eddie, Mike, Casey, all of them. Those guys are super cool. So you know, if I have a chance to get together with them, I will in a heartbeat. Same thing with the guys in Quiet Riot, Rudy and Alex and all those guys. I love every one of them. Johnny Kelly, yeah, Great White. We play with those guys all the time, and you know, I love Brett. Their new singer is incredible, and he's such a nice guy. So I get to kind of hang out with all these people all the time, and like the girls in Vixen, they're super cool. I love hanging out with them. So yeah, we have all these groups that because we play together a lot, we get to hang out all the time. And that's kind of what's nice about it. I mean, I don't have many of them that really live out by me. So when I'm at home, I'm not really seeing any of those people. Because and that's the thing is like we're also spread. Even Slaughter is like we see each other whenever we're on the road. We all live in different states. So when we're all home, we don't see each other. We talk on the phone, we text and all that, but we're only with each other when we're out working. So it's this kind of weird thing where it's like you have all these friends, but they're also spread out, like you said, that it's like I only get to see them when I go to that place. So I make a point of it to see who I can when I can. But yeah, we got all those bands that I mentioned. I'm super friendly with every one of them. They're all super nice people, and the guys from Trickster, Steve Brown and PJ, I love them to death. I'll always be friendly with them, and um, the guys that were involved with Tokyo Motor Fist with him, Ted Poley and Greg Smith, and so yeah, there's a. I'm sure I'm forgetting people, but it's just one of these things where I'm really lucky that be through Slaughter and all these other bands that I played with, I've gotten to meet so many of these people who I look up to, and now I get to call them friends. I mean, it's crazy to get a happy birthday text from Rudy Sarzo. It's like the craziest thing to me to get that kind of a message. But he's another one of the nicest people on the planet, and any chance that I get to be around him and hang out with him, I'm gonna do it. Same thing with like Chris Caffrey. I love Chris. I've known him for years now. If I'm near him, I'm gonna make sure I get to go see him.
You have to go to Legoland with him.
I want to. I've told him that if I ever get a chance, I'm going to Legoland with Chris. Absolutely. He's one of the funniest people I've ever met. I love Chris.
And he lives close to you.
Yeah, he's not. I mean, he's not super close, but I could do like a all day drive, go see it, spend a day with him, and then come back if I had the time. Absolutely.
Right.
But yeah, he's of all those people, him and Steve Brown are probably the closest to me of all the ones that I mentioned. They're the
Right.
ones that live the closest.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, so I'm very lucky that I grew up listening to all these people, and now I get to call them my friends. It's an unbelievable thing.
Nice. Hey, Steve, let me jump in for just 1 second, bro, because I had this thought of this new question I want to ask, and I feel like Jordan is a great person to launch this question off of, and it's based off of a question that you've asked a lot of our artists of what was your first guitar and do you still have it? And when he had mentioned the Allman Brothers and mentioned concerts, I got this brainwave, and I'm like, I'm gonna ask Jordan this because I feel like he's the kind of guy who might appreciate this. So Jordan, what was your first concert shirt? Do you still have it? And does it still fit?
Ooh. My first shirt, it probably was. I honestly don't know. It probably was an Allman Brothers shirt. I probably got a shirt at that show, but no, I definitely don't have it anymore. I mean, remember, I was 5 years old when I went
Right.
to my first concert, so I'm pretty sure that I did have an Allman Brothers shirt from that show, but I definitely don't have it anymore. Definitely
No.
not. I wish I did. I've There's so many times in life where you wish like you saved something and then
Mhm.
it just kills you. You didn't. Like the one thing I do have though that I have saved. I do have my first pair of drumsticks.
Really?
I do. I do. When I was a little kid, I got my first pair of sticks before I ever got drums. I asked my parents for drumsticks. They bought me one pair, and I would lay out all my school books on the floor in my room, crank up my stereo, and just bang on the books. And after I got my first kit, I started using those sticks on it, obviously, and they started getting chipped up and whatever. And my dad said, "You know what? I'm gonna go buy you more sticks." He's like, "I have a feeling you should save these." And so I put them away in my closet, and I actually have my first pair of drumsticks framed. I still have them.
Oh yeah. Oh man, that's crazy. And it's
Yeah.
funny too because the other thing that kind of made me laugh when I was thinking about that question is because you go to so many concerts. We like, for example, go to so many concerts as fans because myself, Angel, and Steve aren't active as musicians right now. So you see families and fans and stuff, and I'll see these kids with a concert shirt that
Yep.
looks like a dress. It'll just
Oh,
be
yeah.
like this like monster size shirt on them. And I think it's
Yeah.
so awesome. And that's what kind of led me to the whole like, yeah, but the fun part of this question is whether or not the shirt still fits.
Still fits. I promise you that it would. If I had it, it definitely wouldn't fit. I can promise you that. Yeah, that's for damn sure. But I wish I did have my first concert shirt. I wish I did. I have a bunch that I've saved over the years, but definitely not the first one. Yeah, I definitely don't have the Allman Brothers one anymore. It's a shame that I don't.
No.
But yeah, there's so many of those things that like you think back and it's I wish I saved this. I wish I saved that. But yeah, I do have a bunch of my concert shirts. I do.
Nice, man. Hell yeah, dude. Appreciate you, Steve. Right back to you, buddy.
Okay. So, could we then know the name of the band that you're doing with your brother? Does it have?
I don't have that info for you just yet. Not just yet. I gotta keep that one quiet for the moment.
Okay. Is it all original on the album?
Yes, all original. All original. It's all original music and it's just 100% all done by my brother and I, just the two of us in our studio together, writing and producing everything ourselves. And we just it's something we were working on for a while, but with our schedules, it's not easy to get together. So we did finish it. The music is done. It's ready to go. We just gotta lay out a whole bunch of more business side of things and get the music video finished and stuff like that. But yeah, we've been working on it for a while and really happy with it. I can't wait to get the first song out. Um, but yeah, it's been a while since the two of us have gotten to release something together, so we were really excited to be able to do it because for the longest time we did everything together. I mean, the that first when we were teenagers and in our early 20s, we always played together. Everything that we got that I did was with him. Always did everything. It wasn't really until Adrenaline Mob that we both like went to Adrenaline Mob and he started getting some other gigs. It wasn't really until that time that we started doing separate things. So and then there was like a good few years where we would be able to get together and do a project here together, a project there, but it was always so sparse. So we were really happy when we finally had the time to sit down and write together because there's definitely a chemistry there that, I mean, I've got chemistry with a bunch of musicians, right? There's great chemistry in Slaughter, there's great chemistry with so many people. But there's just something the two of us grew up playing together. I mean, we were jamming with each other when we were 8 and 10. So it's just one of these kind of things where you can't even explain it. Like I know what he's going to do before he does it. He knows what I'm going to do before I do it. We just really can it's this crazy subliminal thing that I can't even put words to. So when we get to work together, it's really a unique experience because we have such similar influences and similar ideas that we just kind of flow together really easily, and it's just everything just kind of comes together like that. So we're yeah, I'm really pumped for people to hear it. It's I'm excited for it.
Are you just playing drums on it?
I did all the drumming and I did all the keyboards.
Very cool.
And and so yeah, it's me drumming and playing keys. He did all the guitar work and all the bass work. He's singing leads on it. I did a little bit of the background vocals, but 99% of the vocal work was him.
Oh,
So yeah, it's 100% an album of just the two of us. Just we just like I said, we got to do some projects together, some cool things. The two of us were in this band Sugarmore for a little while that was doing this cool like prog pop type thing, and it was awesome. But the two of us thought about it, and we were like, it's been a long time since we just got to had the ability to get together in a room, just the two of us, and just create exactly what the two of us want together. And so that was our whole plan with this was just let's just honestly we really just wanted to have fun making music together. That's what it was. It was just like we've always loved working with each other. when we have the time, let's just get down in a room, like no plan, no, we need to start a band and tour or anything like that. We just wanted to make music together. That's really what it was. So, and then we just got on a roll and it was like, oh, this is cool. Oh, that's cool. And the ideas just kept flowing. So, yeah, I'm really pumped for the first tune to come out. And, as soon as I have some information that I can give, I promise I will.
Yay!
But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. It's always nice to I love tour like, I love playing for people, right? Playing on a stage in front of an audience, getting to go nuts and unleash the energy, that's definitely my home. I love that. But it's nice when you get to take some time to do the creative side of things too, because like a Slaughter tours so much, we're playing, we're playing, we're playing, we're playing. So when I get home and I actually have like a week or two off, I like to actually spend that time doing something more on the creative side of it, whether that be creating a new song or creating a new video for a song or whatever it is. It's nice to be able to kind of get into that mindset from time to time. And, you know, because both sides of the spectrum are fun in different ways. So it's nice to be able to kind of get back into doing that now, especially because I do a lot of session work. So I'm recording and creating all the time. But a lot of the time, as a session drummer, you get to create your parts, right? But you're creating parts for what the artist or the producer is looking for. So you get to do that creative kind of thing, but you have to do it within a framework of what they want because, of course, they're hiring you to do that. So it was nice to, for the first time in a while, actually like have no kind of set idea from, okay, I need to do this kind of part for this person or that kind of part for this person. I get to just say, this is what I want to do. Let me come up with this and that's it. It was nice to get into that mindset for a little while.
That's awesome, man, for sure. Angel, let's kick it back up to you, my friend. And fans, just want to remind you how much we love you guys and appreciate the great questions, the interaction that you guys have been doing, and the amount of love that you've been showing Jordan. But we also do want to keep in mind that, he is gracing us with his time, and we definitely want to make sure that we honor that and keep his evening, as appropriate as possible. So we've got him for a little while longer. He's been great hanging out with us, but it is going to be last call for alcohol fans. Any final questions, comments, anything that you want to ask him, by all means, pump it into the comments. We're definitely going to make sure that you're heard, but it is going to be last call for alcohol so we can respect Jordan's time and the time that we have him. Go ahead, Angel.
Man, that hour went by quick.
I know, dude.
It's been an hour already?
Yeah, bro.
Damn. Oh man, I'm good. Ask away. Just don't ask me to get naked because I'll do it.
Me too. Tommy wants to know how many bands have you been in since you got into music?
Oh, okay. Not that many actually. Because the band that my brother and I had when we were teenagers and into our 20s, it was a band called J-Rad. We did that together for a really, really long time. That was kind of the thing that I focused on for pretty much all of my teenage years and a good chunk of my 20s, probably all the way up to my mid to late 20s. And it was kind of everything that we did with that band was kind of what led to the things that I got to do in the future. So after that, then I got the Adrenaline Mob gig, which obviously, that was fairly short lived, but after the Adrenaline Mob gig, I've bounced in and out of a few bands. Like I said before, I was in this band called Sugarmore, which we're still kind of, I would say, together. Everybody has so much going on that we haven't worked together in a while. But I was in probably I filled in for Doro for a little bit, and I filled in I played with Tokyo Motor Fist for a while. That became a full-time thing for a little while. Obviously, now I'm with Slaughter, and I got to do some fill-in gigs. I filled in for a little while with Lynch Mob. I played with a band called Dark Sky Choir for a little while. So, I mean, if you add it all up, I've probably, not counting fill-in stuff, but actually like became a member for a while, probably only maybe 4 or 5 bands throughout my entire career, because JRAD took up such a large portion of my time. It's not that many. But it was just what one band led to the next. You meet people through one, and then somehow that gets you to the next one, and then you meet people through that one, and you never go through anything with the intention of bouncing from band to band. You always hope to stay with a band for a long time. That's what you hope for, but that's the way life goes. Sometimes bands end or life changes. Maybe you get an opportunity that you didn't know you were ever going to get, and you feel like you have to, give it a shot. So I would say, not counting fill-in stuff, 4 or 5, and then with fill-in gigs, maybe 7 or 8, 9, something like that.
And besides Ringo Starr, do you have any other favorite drummers?
So many to count. Uh, if I really had to put a, just one up on the list, I'm gonna go with Morgan Rose from Seven Dust.
Oh,
I'm gonna go with Morgan. I mean, he's a huge, huge influence on me. A lot of my style definitely comes from him. When I discovered that band and started watching him play, it was just like a religious experience for me. I had never seen or heard anything like him or that band, and it really, really kind of took hold of me. And I love the way that he plays. And I mean, I think a lot of what I do is probably not necessarily me trying to copy him, but definitely I wouldn't have thought of these things if I hadn't discovered him and been influenced by him. Um, I mean, there's definitely a ton of others. I mean, I've always been a huge Neil Peart fan. I've always been a huge Mike Portnoy fan. He's a big influence on me. Um, I've always been a really, really big fan of Sean Kinney from Alice in Chains. I love Daniel Adair from Nickelback. And then on the other end of the spectrum, I'm a huge David Garibaldi fan from Tower of Power.
mm.
I know, totally off the rock world there, getting into the funk and soul type thing, but I listen to a lot of that kind of stuff too. And he was a huge, huge influence on me when I discovered him. So yeah, I mean the list, and then there's obviously there's all the classics. There's the Alex Van Halens and the Bonhams and the Keith Moons, and I mean the list can go on and on forever. I love all of those people. But if I really, really had to pick the one, I'd have to go with Morgan, man. He's a big one for me.
And I know you answered this question earlier, but another fan asked about what symbols do you prefer? I know we had talked
Yeah,
about it, but yeah.
that's cool. Yeah, so I use I'm a Zildjian player. All my crashes are if you really want the models, my crashes are all a custom projection crashes, 17s, 18s, and 19s. I'm the old Z custom Mega Bell ride cymbal. That's like my all-time favorite cymbal. A custom Master Sound hi-hats, uh, a ultra hammered Chinas, variety of some splashes. Not I don't use any splashes with Slaughter, but if I'm on my studio kit, because I have to have the ability to, kind of have a wider spectrum of tonal options depending on who I'm recording for. So I got a variety of different splashes, some A's and some K's, and I've got a large collection of cymbals for the studio because, different things work for different styles. But yeah, pretty much the A customs for crashes and hi-hat, the Mega Bell ride, and an A ultra hammered China. That's like my go-to set right there. That's what I want to use for Slaughter every day. My typical rock or hard rock or metal gig, I'm going to use those and then add some extra pieces as necessary.
And what musician you met that really starstruck you? You were just star. I'm sorry, starstruck to meet.
Well, definitely Morgan. Morgan definitely was one that, I mean, like I said, he's my hero. So when I got to meet him, I definitely like kind of froze for a little bit, especially because it wasn't like a thing where I was introduced to him. We just happened to kind of be we were on the Shiprock cruise. We were both playing on that cruise, and there was like they always do cruises always do these kind of jam night things where like, it's you get this guy from playing this band on drums, this guy playing guitar from this band, and so on. So it's a really cool thing for all of the fans on the boat to see, because it's like you get to see this group of people playing together that you would never get to see anywhere else. And we were standing on the side because we were both doing that thing, and he just walked over to me and leaned on my shoulder and started talking to me out of the blue. Like, it totally took me by surprise. So when that happened, I just kind of turned around and he was leaning on me, and it freaked me out. Absolutely. Because I would have freaked out even if I just walked up to him to shake his hand, but no, he just walked over to me out of the blue, and it totally struck me. And then the same thing happened on that same cruise. I had this like just out of the blue random like drummer hang. It was me, him, Roy Mayorga, um, Kent Dimmel from In This Moment, and Dave Buckner from Papa Roach. And it was just this crazy thing that I got dragged into this circle of all these drummers that I'm in love with. And I just was kind of dumbfounded that I was standing in this circle of, wow, I've been listening to all these guys forever, and now I'm standing here in having this little drummer hang with all of them. It was a surreal experience. It was really, really crazy. So that was definitely big moments for me, definitely, because I mean, those are the drummers that I really, really look up to. Um, John Bon Jovi was a big one too. That was the big one. I definitely was excited to meet him for sure. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think too, for me, it's also not necessarily when I get to meet them, but like if I get to play with one of them, that's when I get like, then it gets really crazy, because it's one thing when you get to like meet someone, shake their hand, right? But then when you get somebody who you've been listening to forever, and now all of a sudden you get to actually play with them, that's like the most surreal experience. Like, I never get nervous playing in front of a crowd or anything like that. I've never had stage fright. I've never had that kind of nerved at all. Like, even first time, you play like some really, really big show. Like, for me, it was just excitement. I've never had that. But every now and then you get that moment where like, oh my God, I'm about to play this song with this person. I better not mess it up. And you get that kind of nervous energy. Like, not too long ago, Blando, the guitar player of Slaughter, he does this kind of side thing called Music Mob, very rarely when Slaughter's not busy, which is, like I said, rare, where we'll do like shows or private parties or something, and we'll do a bunch of special guest singers and bring in all these different musicians, and we'll play their songs with them. And so we had these 2 years in a row where we did these private events, and one of them, we were playing ZZ Top songs with Billy Gibbons.
Oh.
So I was, Billy showed up. We had one little rehearsal with him the day of the show, and he showed up, and like his stage get up, it's not stage clothes. That is just him. That's how he is. It was the hot outside dead of Texas heat, like 115 degrees out, and he showed up in all that stuff, and we just started and I'm sitting there playing, LaGrange with Billy Gibbons, and I was like, I was nervous. And then the same thing happened. Before I really knew Rudy, we did a show with just the two of us and Rudy, doing a power trio with Rudy Sarzo, and we were doing nothing but songs from the bands that Rudy played with. So we were just playing Ozzy and White Snake and Dio and all these different things that he did over the years. And I'm sitting there going, how am I supposed to be comfortable getting on stage playing these songs with this man? So for me, it was definitely those kind of moments where when I had these unbelievable chances to get to play with the heroes, that freaked me out even more than the moments where you just get to meet them. Like, meeting them is unbelievable, but being able to say that I got on stage and did those songs with Rudy or with Billy, like, it's just something that will, an experience that I'll never thought I would have and will never forget.
Meeting John Bon Jovi, though, Angel can relate.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I had to have Steve asked John Bon Jovi for a picture with him because I couldn't speak, I couldn't move, and I thought somebody was playing a joke when they said to go Bon Jovi. And
Well, listen, man, I get it. I mean, luckily though, John is a sweetheart, man. He's a
yeah,
super nice guy. I only met him the one time, and it was it was only for a few minutes, very very short conversation. But the little bit of time that I did spend with him, he was super nice, and his whole, I mean, everybody in his whole organization was super cool to us the whole day. So I mean, that was another thing that like, even though it was crazy to be meeting John Bon Jovi, he made it easier. Like he made you at ease, and everybody in his organization made you feel at ease because they were just super cool people, every one of them.
he did the same thing, made me feel at ease. But I wasn't feeling at ease when his car was parked right behind me, and I had to just kind of like pull out, and I'm like, "Don't hit his car! Don't hit his car!"
That would make me nervous too. Yeah, no, I get that. That's a totally different experience. I didn't have to worry about his car.
And the reason for that is because somebody, Cycle Steve, parked in his parking spot.
I don't know.
Of course, Psycho Steve parked in his spot. Of course he did.
I'm like, that's his spot.
Unbelievable.
He was like, "I don't care.
Did you guys see the article about, I guess John was filming a music video and helped somebody down that was having
On the bridge.
on the bridge and was having a personal issue? Like how crazy but cool is that?
Yep, it's unbelievable. I mean, that it's just more proof that when someone meets him and to tell you that he's a good guy, it's not bull. It's not bull. He really is.
Yeah.
He is that good of a person, and that's always, and honestly, and that's always good to see, right? Because like you always hear like but don't meet your heroes or whatever like that, but he's just
Meet
proof
them.
that he's proof that you can.
Yes,
He's
absolutely.
proof that you can.
So
But yeah, he's really cool.
yeah, so, I mean, super awesome guy. So for the sake of time, we'll go to the last fan question and my final question. Tommy wants to know, what are your favorite venues to play in the tri-state area?
Ooh, tri-state area venues. So, you know, I love
Yes.
there's some, I mean, listen, there's bucket list venues that I in this area that I have not gotten a chance to yet, obviously. So like, I mean, obviously growing up as a New Yorker, I obviously really want to play at the Garden, right? Like I haven't had the chance to do that, and I'm dying to. I had the chance to get on stage at Jones Beach Amphitheater one time in my life, and that was my one of my go-tos as a kid. So that one would be amazing to get a chance to go do that. But as far as like just clubs that I've done, I mean, I've done a lot of the theaters. I love playing Starland. Honestly, I love Starland. I used to love, a lot of them are gone. Honestly, that's a big problem. So a lot of them are gone. I think Roseland Ballroom is gone, right? Um,
People up when I can do that.
I love, you know what, on Long Island, I love the Paramount. The Paramount Theater. That's a really, really good one. I love playing the Paramount. And the Patchogue Theater is really good too. Um, in Jersey, I love Starland, and we just got to go back there recently, so I do love playing there. Um, Pennsylvania, Penns Peak. Penns Peak is really cool.
That place,
I love Penns
it's
Peak.
like up on a mountain.
It literally on the top of a mountain. I love playing Penns Peak. I mean, yeah, I'm just trying to think more, not necessarily just tri-state, but more just east, like northeast coast kind of thing. Mohegan Sun is awesome. I love playing Mohegan Sun.
Mm.
That's a great venue. And then like if we're talking more of just like the rock club kind of thing, Mulcahy's is really really cool one. A lot of the ones that I used to play regularly though are unfortunately gone. I grew up playing. There was a whole bunch of clubs in the New York area, Lemore's and Don Hills and the Downtown and the Crazy Donkey, all those places. I mean, I practically grew up in those clubs, but unfortunately, every one of them is gone now. So there's unfortunately, I have not done many New York shows since I joined Slaughter. When we literally just did a run of 4 shows in the East Coast in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Long Island, and New Jersey. And that Long Island show was the first, like, not including upstate, but more like either the boroughs or Long Island. That was the first time I'd gone to that area of New York to play a gig in probably 3 or 4 years, because Slaughter's just been kind of playing everywhere else for a little while. It was the first time Slaughter's come out into that area for a long time. So even though I grew up in the tri-state area, I haven't actually been playing the tri-state area that much. It's kind of this weird little thing that I've been flying out and playing everywhere else on the planet. But yeah, I mean, I just all those places that I just mentioned are really, really cool. I wish that some of them were still around. It's a shame when I especially like when I do come, like I go back to Long Island and I drive past like one of those places that is like that I grew up in. Like I grew up in the downtown in Farmingdale. That club I played all the time there, and I so many of bands I got to open for so many cool people there. So when I drive past that area and I see that it's gone and it's just like a restaurant now, I get a little sad.
Yeah, I do as well.
A little bit. But yeah, but like I said, there's still cool places. I think in the New York, like Long Island area, the Paramount and the Patchogue Theater are definitely my top spots. And Jersey, I love Starland Ballroom. I've always loved that place.
Me
That's
too.
actually, I told you that Morgan Rose is like my hero. The first time I saw Seven Dust was at Starland Ballroom.
Yeah, I live like 20 minutes from that venue, and it's an awesome venue.
I love it there. Yeah, that's always going to be one that's close to my heart. And I've seen a ton of good shows there. I've gotten the chance to play there a bunch. And yeah, like I said, getting to see Morgan for the first time at that place, that was a major, major influence on me. Like that was one of those moments where like I leave the show and all I want to do is play. Like it just inspired me to sit down behind my kit for hours and hours and hours the next day. So it was just that was a cool moment for me, and because it was there, it'll always have a place in my heart.
And my final question: what drum solos absolutely blew your mind?
Ooh, ooh, that is tough. Okay, well, you definitely can't go wrong with any of Neil Peart's solos. I mean, his solos were just they were masterfully created. I mean, I can't even I can't nitpick anything about it. I mean, he was the professor. Everything he did was flawless. Um, One that really, really drove me nuts, and I didn't get to see it in person. This is one that I discovered on YouTube years ago. But it was Mike Mangini back when he was playing with Steve Vai. I don't remember the year of it. It was probably when was he playing with Vi? Maybe he was playing with him in the early 2000s, I think it was, maybe, or something like that, or late 90s. But there's footage of him doing a solo with Vi on YouTube that I must have watched it 500 times on repeat. It drove me nuts. So definitely some of his. I I used to I told you Mike Portnoy was a huge influence on me, and I've been to many Dream Theater shows over the years. So I got to see him do some solos with Dream Theater and with Winery Dogs, and so he's always been a big one for me. I've always loved the way that Mike plays. Um, and then actually there's some more old school ones that I'm really big into. I There's a lot of old school videos of some Buddy Rich solos that are just insane. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but there's actually one that he had a heart attack in the middle of the drum solo,
Wow.
and he keeps playing. And he walks off the stage. He walks out from behind the drum kit. He's having his heart attack. He walks out. He waves at the crowd. He walks off the stage, and he gets in an ambulance and goes to the hospital. And so he literally kept playing while having a heart attack, and it's an incredible solo. Like it didn't mess him up. It's crazy.
That
Um,
qualifies as incredible.
Yeah, and then I'll give you one that most people would not know. There's a drummer. He's more of a jazz drummer. His name is Lee Pearson. and he has a ton of drum solo videos online. And I got a chance to see him do it in person as well. But after that, that was when I started delving in online because I didn't know who he was. He was doing like a small jazz club kind of thing at the time, and now I think he plays with Chris Body now. But he's got all these solos online that are just insane, and he's one of those guys who like doesn't really have a framework for his solo. He improvises a lot. So almost, I mean, he's got certain like, signature tricks and moves that he does that he throws in a lot, but the general layout of his solos are very different almost every time. But it's always incredible. He's such a monster drummer, and I had no idea who he was. I just kind of stumbled on him and then went down this like YouTube rabbit hole with him, and he's incredible. His solos are amazing, amazing.
Pick it right back up to you, Jay.
Yeah, absolutely. Final one from myself, Jordan. Just a fun question. It is October. It is Halloween season. Are you into horror movies, and do you have a favorite?
I am more into like the old school slasher horror movies. That's definitely where I would hover, not so much of the paranormal stuff. I know before we got on air, you were mentioning that like you're a big Rob Zombie fan.
Yeah.
I definitely love like House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects and all that. But just because of the era that I grew up in, I'm a '90s kid. So for me, even though most people would say it's not necessarily the scariest thing in the world, when I was growing up, the big thing was the Scream franchise. So I'm into Ghostface. I love the Scream movies. That's
Nice.
probably what I would say is my top choice. And maybe it's just maybe it's just product of my environment, maybe, but that's I grew up with Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer and all that kind of stuff. That was what was happening when I was growing up. So those are the ones that I'm definitely drawn to the most. But I mean, and listen, I mean, obviously the classics, Halloween, and all the Freddy movies and the Jason movies. Obviously, that stuff is all super classic. You can never go wrong with any of it. But yeah, I think Ghostface, I think Scream is probably going to be my number one.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's super awesome, man. Yeah, my side show that I do outside of the Metal Summit, which is about like horror movies. Me and my co-host Ron, we did an episode not that long ago dedicated entirely to Wes Craven. So we talked a lot about
Oh, cool,
So we talked a lot about the Scream
nice,
movies.
very
So,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah, that's definitely up on the list for me for sure.
nice.
And you can't go wrong with anything from Stephen King either.
Oh yeah, I was literally watching Maximum Overdrive today.
Oh, cool. There you go. There you go. Yeah, you can't go wrong with any. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's Stephen King, it's good.
Oh yeah. Plus that movie AC/DC did the entire soundtrack. So
Oh yeah, that's right.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's
love
right.
that movie for sure. But Jordan, man, thank you so much. We can't, like I said, thank you enough for giving us, a lot of time out of your evening to just talk
Oh, of
music,
course,
talk
man.
fun things, and just have a great time. Before we let you go and before we officially wrap it, where can you be found? Where can Slaughter be found? And where plug your socials, man.
Yeah, so everything, I mean it's pretty much my name. On Instagram it's at Jordan Cannata. Facebook it's at Jordan Cannata official. YouTube it's Jordan Cannata. So yeah, pretty much you type my name in anywhere, you'll see this ugly mug. It'll come up. And for Slaughter socials, we pretty much use Mark's his social, just Mark
Oh,
Slaughter official. It's pretty much his thing. We use his. So the website slaughterusa.com. That's our website where you can see all the tour dates. And I have my own website, jordancannata.com as well, where you can see anything I'm working on. But yeah, on social media, it's either my name or Mark's name. You can find both of those. And yeah, we're all over the place. And yeah, well, listen, we're excited. We're gonna slow down for the holiday season, spend some time with our families. We still got some shows left for the year. I'm actually flying out in the morning. But yeah, we're gonna spend a little time with our families for the holidays, and then 2025 we're gonna pick it right back up and we're gonna be busy again, and we're gonna be touring around like crazy. So definitely keep an eye out for tons and tons of Slaughter shows, and potential new things and nuggets to get released, and new music coming out from myself and my brother. That information will come soon, and I also actually have a new album coming out on October 25th, very soon, called Cassandra's Crossing. It was myself, George Lynch, Cassandra Carson, and Alessandro Del Vecchio.
Oh, wow.
I'm really proud of that record. I mean, can't say enough about George. He's George Lynch. The man can play guitar like it's nobody's business. And Cassandra is an insane singer. She's unbelievable. And Alessandro, I mean, the dude, between his bass and his keyboard playing, he's a machine. So getting to do that record was really fun. I can't wait for, I mean, we're only like, what, today, the 16th, so
Yeah.
just over a week away from that album coming out. So I'm excited for that. So yeah, definitely keep an eye out for Cassandra's Crossing, the new record.
Hell yeah. Is that Alex from Gemini Syndrome?
No, I don't think no, I don't think Alessandro was from Gemini Syndrome.
Okay, gotcha.
Right now I believe he plays in a band called Vandenplas.
Vandenplas. Okay.
Yeah, I believe he's with them right now. Alessandro has played with a million people. Like his
Right.
resume is absurd. So I couldn't even begin to tell you what he's doing now or what he did in the past. But he's a monster player, and so getting to do a record with all of them, with that whole group of people, was really cool. I can't wait for people to hear it. The first 3 singles are actually out already,
Oh,
but the rest of the record is coming out, like I said, on the 25th. So definitely keep an eye out for that. I'm really proud of that record. I'm really happy to be a part of it.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I also thought it was really cool when you mentioned that you had played with Dark Sky Choir, because their tour manager for a long time, Randy, is a very dear friend of mine. So, like,
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I love those guys. I actually spoke to the singer Brian just a few days ago.
nice.
So yeah, those guys, everyone in that band, I'm still friends with them. We still talk, and I love everybody in that organization. So yeah, that was just another one of those things where just, everybody kind of had multiple things going on, and just life just happens. But
Totally, brother.
just super happy to have them still in my life as friends, and like those guys, just like we were having that conversation before the question, right? If there's any musicians that I meet up with when I can,
Yeah.
if I'm in their state, we're gonna definitely try to get together. Those are guys that I'm gonna be friends with till the end of time.
Absolutely, brother. Again, Jordan, thank you so much, man. And the biggest thing to myself,
thank you.
Ansel, and Steve, of course, is that you enjoyed yourself. You had a good time. You liked
Hell
the
yeah, man.
questions that you were asked. Most importantly, you felt respected, and that you felt that this interview, was beneficial in any way, whether it was to yourself, your music, your band, and all of that.
Oh man, of course. Listen, of course, I had a blast. You guys are all super cool. I was happy, more than happy to hang, and I'm happy to hang anytime. This was super cool, and what is this word? Respect? Respect, is that a thing? Drummers get respect? I didn't even know about that.
Yes.
But no, I'm kidding. Yeah, absolutely, man. I had an absolute blast, and anytime
Awesome.
I'll come back anytime, guys. Absolutely.
Sounds great, man. We'll keep in touch, and next time Slaughter comes to the area, man, we'll definitely hit you up to say what's up, man, and
Sounds good, man.
get to hang. But have a safe flight, a safe trip to your show in the morning, and thanks
you,
again, Jordan. You take care. You have a great rest of your evening, and we look forward to the next time.
You too. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Metal Summoners, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate all the continued support. Make sure that you're supporting Jordan as well as Slaughter and all of the projects that they're doing collectively. You can follow Angel at Angel Alamo 78 on Instagram. You can also find him on Facebook, and he's going to be doing some work over at Exoticon as well. So make sure that you're checking out all the stuff that he's going to be doing over there. You can see the real Psycho Steve at the Real Psycho Steve on Instagram. He's on Facebook as well, and also check him out at psychostevepresents.com. You can also find me at salem.vampire on Instagram. I have a Facebook as well, but you can also catch me on my side show as well of the Vampire and Devil podcast if you're into like creepy, spooky stuff. That's what I'm all about when it comes to that show. And make sure that you guys are paying attention to the social medias for the Metal Summit, because Angel and I are going to be flying across the country in a couple of weeks. Myself, Angel, and Megan are all going to be going over to the Whiskey A Go-Go to host Kickin' Valentina and Illusions of Grandeur on November 7th. So we're very, very excited for that. And again, thank you so much to all of you fans. Make sure that you're following the Metal Summit in particular on Facebook and YouTube, because that is where you are watching Jordan right this second. And definitely make sure that you're giving us a follow and a like on the Instagram page, because that's where all the guest announcements come out. But you guys take care. Of a fantastic rest of your week. Have a great weekend. Over the weekend, we'll put out next week's guest announcement as we get into our first of our Halloween episodes. So we really look forward to hanging out with you guys in a week. Take care. Be good to each other. Jordan, travel safely, brother, and we'll talk soon. And
thanks, guys.
we appreciate you, Metal Summoners. Take care. As always,
Have a
you've
good
been
one, guys.
watching the Metal Summit.